why is my unit not being rented out yet? Hello everyone, this is Ryan. So today I'll be touching on this topic on residential rental unit and what are the common mistakes that most of the landlord make, in my own opinion, especially on the thought process. This is pertaining to the initial part, that means to say prior to the unit being rented out. So the title of this topic would be, why is my unit not being rented out yet? So that being said, we are talking about the unit being left in the market for a couple of months, maybe 2 or 3 months, and still no potential tenant coming to take up the unit yet. Let's use the following scenario. So assumingly it's a 3-bedroom condo unit, fully furnished. You've been staying there for quite some time, then you move out and you decided to rent it out. Usually for us, we will visit the unit and head up, take some pictures, try to run through the unit to get a clearer picture of what we are getting ourselves into. So when we meet up with the landlord, there will be certain questions that are being asked. Typically, we will try to ask them what is their rental expectation. Example, the average market rent over there is 5,000. They are looking at least 6,000. I was like, okay, fully furnished. Since it's a 3-bedroom, right, then we will see whether all the rooms function or not. Let's say that one of the rooms is being converted into a study or into a working wardrobe. Then the next question they will ask is that, how long do you think that unit can be rented out? My response would be, it depends. It really depends on what the landlord expectation is. Thus, the thought process. Firstly, when we talk about rental pricing, right, it's very hard to go against the market. I'm not saying that it's impossible. I'm just saying it's hard. So let's assume the average price over there is 5,000. They are looking at least 6,000, right? So this, number one, is a challenge really. You have to understand that during the COVID days, right, the supply was very tight. The demand was very high. So thus, a lot of units, right, they can ask way above the market price. Example, if it's at 4,000, easily it can be rented at 5,500 during that point of time. Fast forward today in 2025, right, I would say you can ask for a slight premium, but it really depends on the tenants, whether are they willing to pay for it. Number two, you have to see the supply situation over there. Example, if that particular condo that you have, right, there are still quite a handful of units for the tenant to choose, right, then I would say that the chances of you hitting the 6,000 mark would be low unless, I mean, of course there will be attributes like, example, yours is a high floor unit, sea view, etc. Is if the tenant is willing to pay a premium for it, then good for you. If not, right, then really you have to wait out for a much more longer period of time. I wouldn't really suggest waiting out for too long, because from a financial point of view, right, it doesn't really make sense. Example, if the landlord were to accept a slightly lower pricing, example 5,500 as compared to 6,000, right, or maybe 5,200, 5,003, right, and on top of that, if the monthly mortgage, for example, their installment, maybe their installment is 6,000, that's the reason why they insist on 6,000. If you were to take a slight discount, 5,200, 5,003, the difference of $700, you multiply by 12, it's only 8,400. So if the unit is being left vacant for more than 2 months, your 1 month mortgage is 6,000, 2 months is already 12,000. Actually, it doesn't make sense from a financial standpoint. But nevertheless, it's not my unit, it's the client's unit, so we respect their decision. We can try to advise them. So is this one of the reasons why it's taking so long? Secondly, the furnishing condition of the unit itself. I'm not too sure if you guys are aware, but typically for big units, 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, 5-unit, landed, etc., we try to keep it empty, i.e. to say either totally unfurnished or if not partially furnished, white goods only. White goods, we're referring to the kitchen appliances, etc. Because most of the tenant profile, right, especially the family profile for these big units, right, they do move around with their furniture. So keeping the unit furnished, right, typically you are cutting away a good, I would say 50 to 60% of the tenant pool out there. So you are limiting yourself to the remaining, say example, 40%. So that further restricts the so-called the pace of getting the unit leased out. On top of that, earlier on example, right, I did mention that one of the bedroom was being converted to study, or if not working wardrobe. Okay, study is still not too bad. But study, we still can make do with it, or if not possible, remove one of the built-in study table, etc. But working wardrobe, then you really have to find the correct tenant profile, the misses that will really enjoy the working wardrobe. If not, yeah, you really have to drop the asking price so that we can move the unit fast enough. On top of that, right, when it is fully furnished, you need to identify who is your tenant profile really. Because early on I mentioned about family. So typically most family, they move around with furniture. So if is fully furnished and yet you are still looking out for family profile, right? So-called the tenant request for certain furniture, right, to be removed because they have their own, example, they have their own bed, they have their own mattress, they have their own dining table, etc. So end of the day, right, your furnishing set may not be complete or may not be consistent at the end of the day. So are you open to that? Trust me, some may say yes, some may say no. Majority will say no lah. So if not, all your furniture's got to be intact, right? Then the next question would be, what sort of tenant are you looking out for? Really, a full-fledged family, I would say still possible, but maybe on the lower side. End up, we may be looking at a few colleagues sharing the unit together, or if not, students, etc. Then end up when the agents bring up this profile to the landlord, right? The landlord say, no, I'm not looking out for this profile. I still want a family profile. I still want a very good so-called aspect to come and rent my unit. You see, you are limiting yourself to that because the existing condition of unit, right, we limit ourselves really. Then still regarding on the furnitures, right, the next question would be, are the furnitures very outdated? That means to say very oldish type of furniture, or if not, is the house overly cluttered? Because some of the built-in furnitures, etc., with all the big bulky furniture pieces, right, it does dwarf the overall size of the unit itself. Right? It may be suitable for the owner who is staying there, but it may not be suitable for the tenants. So whenever they come and see, then they will so-called be taken aback, and that could be one of the reasons. That's the reason why we need to visit the unit that we are representing so that we know what we are getting ourselves into. Okay, so all these are the thought process. You need to be open to discussion. Next, early on, we keep on mentioning about tenant profile. For those who are new landlord, so what sort of tenant profile are we looking at? Typically, a lot of landlords will have preferences on the type of tenant they want to rent the unit to. So they may seek advice, ask their friends, their colleagues and everything. Then they will tell them, they will give them a lot of advice. They'll tell them, hey, don't rent to this profile, always go for company lease, everything, etc. The typical myth is that try our best to rent the unit to Western expats, or if not to a certain nationality only, avoid certain nationalities, etc. I would say it's accurate to a certain extent, not the true complete picture. I reverse the thought process. So example, today you're working in a big corporation, maybe a MNC. I need you to just look left, look right. Who are your co-workers? I would say that in today's context, right, majority of the companies would favor Asians over here in Singapore itself. So if you are still looking out for that tiny portion of Western aspects, right, so that would explain why it's taking a longer period of time. The next thing we'll talk about is rental pricing. So I will always ask the landlord, since you have certain expectation, right? So what is the tenant's expectation of your unit as well? If you are looking out for a rental at 6,000, right? What is the tenant's income? You have to come from this approach, then you will start to understand how things work. So if rental is at 6,000, number one is that no one use 50% of their income to pay for rental. So typically, sensibly, people will always use about 30 to 40%. So if let's say you insist of 6,000, right, I would say that their income would be at least 10 to 12,000, or if not and above. Fair statement? Fair, right? So if the particular tenant profile you are looking at is earning that sort of income, be it single or combined family income, what is their expectation of the unit as well as furnishing of the unit itself? So to the landlords, right, they may have so-called furnished the unit. Perhaps those are used furniture, or the furniture that is a little bit dated, not as modern looking, etc. Does it fit into this category? If it doesn't meet, right, then it's a mismatch already. If you do not agree with me, right, because this is personal opinion, I use another example. Today you travel overseas, your family help you to book 4 5-star hotel. Someone help you to book. When you've gotten the keys, you enter the particular room, right, for the hotel. Then you like, how come the room is like that? This one is 4 to 5-star hotel. How come the furniture is like so dated one? It has not been recently renovated. Because your expectation is there. Did you explore this angle and look at the give you the fair opinion of the unit that you are trying to rent out? If your unit can be always, the turnaround time is very fast, right, then yes, maybe it's still quite modern, or if not, the unit is centralized located. But if you do experience much more longer waiting period of time, right, so the above that I mentioned, right, this could be one of the contributing factors. So that's the reason why you need to really explore what is the factors behind it. And usually all these are just thought process. This is a very simple way of trying to assess the unit, whether is it rentable or not, or is there any that is stopping people, that means stopping the tenant from coming. So if you find this video useful, do help me to share and like the video, and this will help to encourage me to do more of this type of more in-depth, more invasive sharing. The above are all my personal opinions, so hope you don't get offended. So if you do have any property related questions, right, do drop me a comment. I'll try my best to help. Okay, once again, this is Ryan. See you next time. Bye bye.